Okay. Thank you so much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for joining or dialing in for today's session. This is one of the timely discussions that we will be having. And I would like to just say hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, and cherished partners, and every participant joining us today from across Africa and beyond. And my name is Collins Dundo, and I'm the current CEO for Youth Initiative Development Program. And I'll be taking you through housekeeping rules, and also I'll be taking you doing my opening remarks, after which I will usher in the moderator for today, who is Mr. Kavins Kaumba. So the session will be in English. We are very sorry for those who are coming from Francophone community. But again, if you are able to get a translator, you are able to just do a translation that will give you a bit of a hint of what we are talking about. And this is a round table. So we have 5 panelists who will set this stage for this important discussion, after which the session will be open for 40 minutes for every member to also be able to contribute. So on behalf of Youth Initiative Development Program, I would like to extend heartfelt welcome to you all. And this is a virtual sports wellness summit, pre-sports wellness summit. And the theme is navigating the maze, drug substance abuse, and mental health challenges in African youth sports. So like I said, this is a roundtable, and it's a precursor for a foundational dialogue that is an in-person sports wellness summit that we are planning to curate in November 19th to 21st, 2025 at Cloud Suite Hotel in Nairobi. So we laid the groundwork in identifying the urgent priorities and mapping the pathways for action that will define our comprehensive summit. We gather here today to not just as experts, but as champions for future of our youth. Look at what is happening in our community today, and you'll see vibrant energy of young people from every village field to every budding academy. Our young athletes often come from humble backgrounds, and they represent hope and resilience and unwavering spirit that you'll be able to see in them. They are not just chasing medals while they are playing or while they are involved in competitive games. They are chasing dreams of better life, not just for themselves, but for their families and their community. However, beneath this inspiring surface lies a stack of reality, one we often prefer to keep in the shadow. On dusty pitches that our young people normally play in, especially in the grassroots community, there is a lot of struggle in our community. And our young people or young athletes face a maze of complex challenges. They are battling societal pressure, economic hardship, and intense performance anxiety. In this high-stake environment, substance abuse and mental struggles are not abstract concepts. They are the very real, often invisible, and adversaries that threaten their derail promising careers and also more tragically healthy young lives. We see it every day, especially YIDP, whenever we are involved in our activities working with young people through soccer. And the signs and burnout, I'll say it's very real. The desperation that can lead to harmful shortcuts, the silent battles with anxiety and depression. These are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of systematic gaps in support, education, and safe spaces. And so I believe this roundtable today, it's more than a discussion. This is going to be a resounding call to action. We cannot afford to stand by as this dual crisis undermines the potential of our youth. And we must acknowledge that investing in our young athletes holistically is not a luxury. It is a fundamental necessity for a healthy society and a thriving continent. Therefore, I stand here virtually today directly to private sectors who are present in this call or in this roundtable and public sectors leaders. Let us build a robust and a preventative and compassionate system for our young people or young athletes in our community. So for our private sectors, I will assure you, your investment in sports wellness is an investment in human capital, in community development, and in creating future leaders. This is an opportunity to champion social responsibility that genuinely transforms lives and builds healthier market of tomorrow. To our government officials and policymakers who are here, we urge you to recognize that comprehensive sports wellness policies are integral to national youth development strategies. Let us move beyond focusing on performance metrics to prioritizing the mental and physical health foundation that make true performance sustainable in our community. So the insight that we are going to get today from our noble speakers are crucial. And I believe this knowledge that will be shared here will be used to inform policy and creating a framework that are not only punitive against doping, but are proactively supportive of mental health and preventative against substance abuse. Um, so as we look ahead to Men Sports Wellness Summit in November, we actively seeking you to partner and collaborate with us. We invite your organizations and companies to share our vision, to consider partnering with us in specific sessions and workshop and thematic tracks that aligns with your goals. And we warmly encourage you to reach out to YIDP whenever you feel like there is a role that you can play, and your partnership can elevate the impact and reach of this vital discussion, ensuring that our collective efforts translate into tangible change in our community. So today mark a pivotal step. Let us discuss, let us pour every insights from our heart with a renewed commitment, a commitment to nurture not just skilled athletes, but healthy, resilient, and well-adjusted young individual. Let us work together to ensure that the arena of sports in Africa is a place where every young person can truly thrive, where their dreams are protected and their well-being is paramount. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I would like to invite the moderator for today, Mr. Kavins Kaumba, who is our communication director. Kavins Kaumba, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins Alan Dundo, our CEO and co-founder. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this prime opportunity to welcome all of us for this roundtable discussion this afternoon or this morning, depending on the place you are, or this evening. It depends on which part of the globe you are in. So without talking so much, I'll just be your moderator for the session this afternoon. I won't talk so much because we have experts in the room. The experts will be giving us their expert opinion, their expert advice from their different areas of expertise. So without speaking too much, I just want to highlight that today's topic, as already highlighted by our CEO, navigating the maze, drugs, substance abuse, and mental health challenges in African youth sports. So that is what we'll be delving with or in this afternoon. Just to highlight a few things going forward, to add on whatever the CEO has said, please let us make use of our chat box because there are follow-up questions we'll be having. So just post any comment, any question you have from the chat box so that our speakers shall be or may be able to respond at the tail end before we close the session. We shall have 1.5 hour session this afternoon. This is East African time from Kenya. This will take purely 1.5 hours. So within 1.5 hours, we shall have very good engagement with all of us. And also, I want to explore that each speaker we shall give 10 minutes to highlight or say something about the topical areas you're going to engage in. And then thereafter, we shall have follow-up questions. So I want to welcome all of us. Please also in the chat box, introduce yourself and the organization you represent or any other information you may want to share with us. Like already highlighted by our CEO, let us all take active part in this discourse going forward because it shall culminate into the summit we are going to have in November. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome in a special way our speakers who are already with us. Just to mention a few, one of them is Dr. Yvonne Alando, who is already with us. Linyonyi Nasike, who is already with us. I've seen Michael Murkuku with us. I've seen also Wycliffe Mayaka with us. And finally, I've seen Coach D. Williams with us. So we'll be joining from different places in the globe. So just greet us from whichever part you are and just give your insights. So ladies and gentlemen, without wasting a lot of time, I want to welcome our first speaker on board. Please, when you are called on board, we shall expect that you give us some brief background about yourself, your area of expertise, or whatever you are doing, and any other information that you might want us to know. What you don't want us to know, just please keep it for the sake of this discourse going forward. So without wasting a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kevin Skaumba. I'll be the moderator for this session. I'll do the least talking as I leave the floor for our good speakers. So against that backdrop, because we are dealing with substance abuse, drugs and substance abuse and mental health in sports, may I open the forum by inviting our good Dr. Yvonne Alando, the Director of Public Education and Advocacy for NACADA. Just to start with, the national perspective and data providing a crucial context, just more of contextual foundation. So NACADA's role offers an authoritative overview of the landscape of substance abuse among the youth in general and specifically in sports, along with policy gaps. So, Daktari, I know you're with us and you can get me loud and clear. From NACADA's perspective, and based on national surveillance data, what are the most pressing trends in substance abuse or use among the youth? And how do you see these trends specifically manifesting within the high pressure environments or content of competitive sports? And then you can also give an insight about what are the policy gaps currently existing in regulating access to substance abuse for the vulnerable population. So just to highlight those two, Daktari, I want to welcome you. Just to give us a brief background of yourself and then dive into the question. We shall give you 10 minutes to take us through. Welcome, Daktari. If you can hear me or if you can see me, welcome. The floor is yours. Just unmute and start us off.
Thank you so much, Bwana Moderator. I am Dr. Yvonne Orlando. I'm Director in charge of Public Education and Advocacy at NACADA, with a background specializing in addiction prevention and treatment. Now, with your permission, I'd like to share my slides so that the data could be seen. I don't know if that is possible.
Yes, the technical team is taking care of that. Yes, just in a while you'll be able to share your data. Yes. Okay.
You can see my screen?
Yes, the screen is clear.
Thank you so much. So I'll just give a highlight on the alcohol and drug abuse situation in Kenya and also on the youth factor so that we can be able to work together. Now, that is about NACADA, and that is because we are the national agency mandated with issues of drug demand and supply reduction. When you're looking at the prevalence of drugs and substance abuse in Kenya, of note, if you look at the national general data as of 2022, when you're looking at least one substance, you can see in 2022 it was very high. For alcohol, we are looking at 11.8%. This is the national prevalence. For tobacco, 8.5%. For miraa, 3.6%. Cannabis, 1.9%. Heroin and cocaine at 0.1%. And prescription drugs at 0.2%. We've done the studies also for workplace in the public sector. And as you can see, it is very high. We've done for secondary schools as well as for primary schools. So when you're looking at our youth, particularly when it comes to issue sports, this is a serious concern because in primary schools as well as secondary schools, you can see our children are already using alcohol and other drugs. Sports in Kenya starts in secondary schools. Others are identified as young as in primary schools. So if the data is showing that they're already using substances, that is a grave concern to the rest of us. These are some of the reasons why people are abstaining from drugs, particularly later on in the university. There are those who knew the health effects and kept it away. There are those who it was a personal decision, could be because of what they had seen. And as you can also see, religious values and personal principles are very high. So the awareness that we have been giving has not been in vain. You can see it is already making a difference. Now, the same way we have the substance use disorders across the country, you can as well see the alcohol use disorders are in the hundreds of thousands. The tobacco use disorders are also in the millions, just like the alcohol. The cat use disorders and the cannabis use disorders. So we are saying that because of the substance use problems, it is a serious issue and it is cutting across the whole country. So this is of grave concern. When you're looking at emerging trends, particularly the ones that have touched on our youth, you can see the sale of online, where you just order and it is delivered to your doorstep. That is a serious concern, particularly in Nairobi. And we also know it is easy for you to order from wherever you're at. The other things that we've seen majorly sold online is alcohol, vapes, or electronic cigarettes and heated tobacco products. We have other cigarettes, shisha, and the nicotine pouches. All of these are substances of abuse. Okay. When you're looking at alcohol and drug abuse use among the youth in universities, and these ones we are looking at the people who are as young as 18 to about 24, 25 years. And we know our footballers, our people who are in the boxing, the ones who are in Rouge, all of them are usually scouted between that type of age. And in our universities, the national prevalence for alcohol is at 18.6. Take note the national prevalence was 11.8. So the youth are using more substances than the general public. For cigarette is at 7.2, for kuber is at 2.8, shisha 4.6, vapes 5.8, nicotine pouches 4.2, tobacco 2.6, and at least one tobacco product at 12%. When you're looking at narcotics, like cannabis, the smoked cannabis, 9.1, cannabis edibles, 6.4, and here we're looking at the cakes and the cookies. At least any type of cannabis, 10.7, heroin, 1.7. Taking note, the national prevalence was 0.1, and cocaine, 1.6. So you can see our youth are really being affected. And the risk factors are very clear that this is coming from friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, the people around them, and experience in childhood. If they watch their parents being beaten or engaging in any domestic violence, it was a huge risk factor. Also, any form of harm, gender-based harm, that was a risk factor. The ones that are protective, you can see, is being in a religious group, being an active member in a club, and just, being engaged in any sport. That was a very good factor. It was protective. And of course, because we have the AUD, we also seen that there is severe alcohol use disorders. So that is also higher than for the national prevalence. And of course, with that, we have depressive disorders. And you all know you cannot be running. You cannot have the discipline of waking up very early every day, running on the pitch when you're drunk or when you're having hangies. You will end up becoming depressed and also struggling. The universities have put interventions in place to be able to protect the youth. I'm happy to report that NACADA has had meetings with ADAC, which is the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya. And this was to help us understand, is there a role that NACADA can help to support to protect our athletes? And the good news is that the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya has put structures in place to protect its athletes. We have the blood doping, so they know that others are doping through blood. There is the aspect of use of androgens, which are increasing serum in their testosterone. There's the use of different stimulants. Others are using nutritional supplements, hoping that then it will help them, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. Then there is the use of prescription drugs, the diuretics and other masking agents. Of note is that alcohol is used widely, and that has been also highlighted because it is impacting them. It is impacting their performance. Some of the interventions that have been put in place, even as we explore the gaps in policy, the team that met, which was a multi-sectoral team, agreed to set up a multi-sectoral working committee that will encompass Athletics Kenya, ADAC itself, NOC Kenya, NIS, DCI, ODPP, Ministry of Health, and NACADA. The reason we are bringing in also the security agencies is because drugs lead to crime. Drugs rob our athletes of their future. And there are those athletes who end up using some of these doping agents without knowing. So the security agents will be able to come in to protect the athletes so that they're not given drugs without knowing and therefore ending up ruining their careers or ending up in cells. Also, Athletics Kenya, in collaboration with Sports Registrar, to immediately commence registration of coaches, agents, camps, and athletes in every region to create a central database. And this will be able to help us know if an athlete is found to have doped. It is easy to track and trace what happened, what led them to that kind of situations. Was it knowingly or unknowingly, to preserve the integrity of sports in Kenya and to protect the incoming athletes for Kenya. You've seen the good work done by our athletes during this chance period. And as Kenya, we are very proud, and therefore we'd like to support, to protect our athletes from getting into alcohol and other drug abuse in the name of doping, knowingly or unknowingly. Thank you so much, Bwana Moderator. I will stop there.
Thank you very much, Daktari. Very great insights, very great highlights. I've learned a couple of things. I've realized that, I don't know any other person has also realized the same. Access in urban center is a major challenge. The more we have access to varied drugs, the more it's prone to abuse or use of the same. And so also the youth have also realized from your presentation that they abuse more drugs. It's above the national prevalent rate. I've realized that among our youths, our athletes, and in that age bracket of the youth. And also I've also realized from your presentation a very insightful thing about the people around you, the social environment, the groups, the sports. They play a very key role, but also they can play a negative role in terms of trying to influence you either way. Otherwise, Daktari, thank you very much for the insight you've given us in terms of policy mitigation, the partnership you have with ADAC, the partnership you have with the NOC, that is National Olympic Committee, the NIS, the DCI, Ministry of Health. Thank you very much, Daktari. We shall be coming back to you in a while so that to tie all the loose ends together. Now, without wasting time, may I follow up the same question with our other speaker, who is Linyonyi Nasike. Linyonyi Nasike, who is a sports psychologist, will also give her insight. So, following NACADA's macro view, the sports psychologist provides another professional assessment of the mental health landscape within sports, connecting performance, pressure, and substance misuse. These transitions well from the what to the why and introduces the importance of holistic support. So to Linyonyi Nasike, I can see you with us. From your vintage point as a sports psychologist, what is your assessment of the current mental health landscape for young athletes in Africa, particularly concerning the interplay of performance pressure, potential substance abuse, and the availability of psychological support? And also, how crucial is the integration of an inclusive, holistic support system encompassing mental health professionals, coaches, and family to proactively address these challenges and foster resilience in young athletes? So just take a minute or so to introduce yourself, information you may want to share with us regarding your expertise, your background, whatever you do, and then please delve direct into the question as a follow-up from where the good Daktari has left us from. Yvonne, thank you very much. So over to you, Linyonyi Nasike. Just unmute and take us through. The floor is yours. You have 10 minutes to delve into this.
Thank you, Kavins. I will not put my video on for today. You guys will allow me, but I am together with you. First of all, thank you so much for this conversation and this program. I think it's very important that these conversations are had. Psychology being a space where talking is one of our biggest tools. I think this is a really great initiative. So I'm working in sports psychology. I've previously been in sports science. So I did my degree in sports science, and I had an interest in mental health and specifically in sports, since I am also an athlete myself in different ways. So to answer your question, I would say I'm currently working with mostly athletes some of them are in school. So I would say the grassroots sports. So there's a lot of pressure, notably since some of them are still trying to complete school or to find themselves in terms of their career and education. Combining that with the extreme hours of training that most of them face, because some, if you're saying maybe gymnastics, they're training 4 to 5 hours a day, swimmers are training 3 hours a day. So going to school maybe for between 7 to 4 p.m. and then having to leave school and immediately get to training, and then leaving training and immediately getting back home to maybe shower, eat, and then rest or do their assignments if they get to. The athletes, the youth, are facing a lot of pressure in the demands of the sport itself and in the demand of them wanting to be professional athletes, particularly in disciplines like football. Considering there might be potential financial gain, then, and not necessarily for the financial gain, parents now are just supporting their kids through sports because they want to and because they've seen the need for it. But then the pressure often leads to anxiety, depression, which is very prevalent. And since people don't talk about it, then there's no place for the athletes to go and express this. When athletes face this constant stress without adequate coping mechanisms, then there's a heightened risk of then turning to unhealthy behaviors. The link between mental distress and substance misuse is, I think, very notable globally, as the doctor has just shared. Young athletes may use substances as a form of self-medication to cope with performance anxiety, the fear of failure, or the emotional fallout from injuries. The high prevalence of substance use in general population, both Africa and anywhere, is not isolated from the social trends, also because there's a lot of exposure in terms of social media. So people can, I've heard of like university students using Adderall, which is prescribed for ADHD, but then some people are using it as just a casual drug, which already limits the extent to which the performance is going to be done. So looking at the three things: performance pressure, potential substance abuse, and the availability of psychological support. You'll allow me to start with the availability of psychological support, because there's a lot of scarcity in terms of professional psychological support, especially tailored to young athletes in Africa. And like in more developed sports environments, sports psychology as a specialized field is still new, and in as much as people might understand the value and the essence of it, there's still a lot of sensitization that needs to be done so that people can fully grasp it and allow it to do its work. So that limited awareness is an issue in psychology. And then also there's still a bit of stigma in terms of mental health. I feel like people are talking about it more now, but then it's still there. People are still trying to tough it out. People are still experiencing fear in terms of saying, I'm feeling sad, or I'm not feeling okay. And then also the accessibility. It's one thing for the athletes to know that they're not okay mentally, but then it's also another thing for them to recognize where they're going to get the support, and finding a qualified professional who understands the unique pressure of their sports, especially in Kenya where we are right now, might be a bit difficult. So there's the issue of, yes, they've and I think this is where the inclusive holistic support system comes in, because once the athletes have identified, maybe I'm having anxiety issues, or I feel like I might be getting into depression, then is the coach able to offer guidance in a way that's tailored towards their mental health, and not necessarily focusing on their results or their physicality and things like this. So I think I'll do the integrated holistic system after, but then also talking about the potential substance abuse would be mostly due to the pressure that the athletes feel, saying that there's exposure, especially in the urban areas, and these athletes are training like they're training away from home. Some of them are training in the universities, and not everyone who's out there is looking towards the welfare of the athletes. Some people are out to expose them. Some are out to exploit them. So they're very susceptible to falling prone to substance abuse without the proper mentorship, which is also something that's quite lacking, I feel, in terms of if there's like a group of youth that trains, let's say at Kibiko, is there a group of maybe 3 or 4 other athletes that just walk with them, not necessarily their coaches, but just walk with them and tell them how it is for them as athletes, because they also need someone who's walked in their shoes so that they can sort of get a clearer picture of what it means for them. And then how psychology would step in is just promoting a growth mindset. So encouraging athletes to view challenges as setbacks. So mistakes are opportunities to learn and grow, praising their effort. So what this does is when they get through blockages and challenges, which is where they might decide to run to the drugs, if they have a growth mindset, they will look at the challenge and the mistake and the failure as a turning point and something to learn, and they will take good things out of it, as opposed to being beaten down and seeing themselves as a failure and then just going down that rabbit hole and getting into drugs and other things. And then also teaching emotional regulation. Athletes need to be able to identify, label, and manage their emotions, which I feel is something that's not done so much. We focus mostly on how well are you performing, how good is your technique, how fast are you, how strong are you, and not focusing on how are you feeling. Are you feeling comfortable enough? Are you feeling relaxed? Are you feeling at peace within yourself? So trying to talk more about emotional regulation, so that even when the athletes are feeling some type of way, they have the words to identify the feeling. And then once they identify it, they can start to find coping mechanism and start to find ways to deal with it. As opposed to if they're feeling something and they can't even put a word to it, then that leads to confusion, which leads to a lot of thoughts that they're not even able to process, on top of the pressure that they're facing to be themselves, to find themselves in their young bodies, in their young lives, and to still be athletes. And then finally, I would say to empowerment and autonomy, giving young athletes a sense of ownership over their sports and their life. So not making them feel like this is what we're telling you to do, this is right, but giving them a sense of control, which will help them to see the challenges much better as something they can overcome. And they'll be able to say, this is something that's within my control, this is something that's not within my control. And if they have autonomy over their sport and over their fitness life, then they're more responsible for the decisions they make, as opposed to if we are telling them what to do, if we are making decisions for them, then when they come at the crossroads and they need to say no to drugs, they haven't exercised that willpower to stand up for themselves and be like, you know what, this is not going to help me when I'm running tomorrow. This is not going to help me when I'm trying to push weights in the gym. So I'm going to step out of this. Just to mention some of the skills that we work with in sports psychology to try and give them a mental toolkit. We do goal setting, so working on specific goals, measurable, attainable. You guys know the smarts, but then what we try to do is to focus on the process and not the outcome. So let's say one of the goals could be, I want to train 15 minutes every day, as opposed to I want to do 30 seconds in my 200 fly on Saturday. Because if they're focused on the outcome, then they've already lost the goal. They're not focusing on their skill, they're not focusing on their technique, and you can't control the outcome. The only thing you can control is what you do. And then something else that I feel would be will be such a key is self-talk and positive affirmations, helping athletes reframe their negative thoughts helps them to make better decisions in life, because they're more self-compassionate about their lives, they're more self-confident, and they're more self-aware on the things that they need to do and the things that they need not to do. Finally, I'll just touch on the holistic aspect. So in as much as we're talking about athletes, it brings together the mental health professionals, which would be the sports psychologists, if you're looking at mental performance coaches, to help with stress management, emotional regulation, Also, the coaches are the ones who spend most of the time with the athletes. So as I mentioned before, there needs to be an autonomy supportive coaching style where the athlete's voice is what matters and you just support them. You don't make decisions for them. The coaches need to be educated on the signs of mental distress and trained to create a supportive and positive environment for the athletes. And then also the family support is a cornerstone for the athlete. The family's judgments, the family's attitudes, the family's support and how they show up. They need to provide a non-judgmental space for the athletes to thrive. So I believe in all this working together, it's called the sports triangle. It can't function for the athlete without all these three sectors. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Linyonyi. That was very informative, very insightful, very rich in terms of the content and the way forward. I'm very happy, I'm impressed about you focus on the process, not the outcome. So I like that. And the key highlights to be given about the autonomy, the key highlights about coach taking the central role, the family aspect that comes in. But also you pointed out one thing that Dr. Lando said about having a lot of information in the digital era, having a lot of information in the social media. And that also plays a double-edged sword whereby it is a plus, but also in a way it's negative in that it exposes young people to a lot of information which is not you have not received the information you are receiving. So I think it's very important that going forward, we shall be able to look at a way to harmonize all this. Also, something you've mentioned, which is very important, is that there's a lot of demand and pressure from athletes, from young people, from all quarters of life, from work, from the family, from the social cycle, from the groups where you belong. You want to ensure that you are able to perform, but also to meet the demands of life, demands of the family, demands of the community. The demands come from different quarters. So all this together can also, in a way, influence or direct one to engage in such kind of substance or drug and alcohol abuse. So thank you very much, Linyonyi. I saw our next speaker on board. I saw him. I don't know whether he has dropped. Can I get a confirmation from the technical team? I saw Michael Murkuku with us from Dari. Is he still in? Please, may I get a confirmation so that we are able to make progress to that effect? Our technical team, I saw him in. Did he drop due to any technical challenge, or is there any communication? Or Michael, if you can listen or hear me, can you say something or raise up your hand so that we can make progress?
Unfortunately, Michael is facing a technical challenge. Maybe we can move to the next speaker.
Thank you very much for that kind intervention and very fast intervention. So thank you very much for doing that. So may I move forward to Wycliffe Mayaka, who is a recovering alcoholic and a certified addiction counselor, so that he is able to give us maybe a perspective, introduce himself, and give us some insight. So Wycliffe ought to have given us some personal recovery journey and professional expertise naturally. Now, from Michael's lived experience. Now, he can maybe elaborate on early warning signs and crucially discuss fostering and helping in an environment that maybe directly addresses the challenges highlighted by maybe Michael and maybe Nasike. So to you, Wycliffe, maybe a specific question you may want to delve into, drawing from your personal journey of recovery and your professional expertise as a certified addiction counselor and ISUP member, what are the most crucial early warning signs often missed by athletes, coaches, and families that indicate a young athlete might be developing a substance use or struggling with their mental health? And also, plus that question, you may also be able to give us some insight based on your experience, hiding some struggles within you, particularly when considering the unique cultural context and stigma often associated with addiction and mental health in the region. So just give us a highlight of the two. Then from there, we will be able to make a progress to this discourse. Over to you, if you can be able to hear me. Wycliffe?
Yeah, well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, my name is Wycliffe Mayaka, and as per the introduction, let me start by saying I'm a recovering alcoholic, doing 9 years now. And through this journey of recovery, I've become an addiction counselor because I first wanted to know what is this that kept me in that darkness for close to 14 years. And the search for knowledge, I ended up as an addiction counselor. I did go studying addiction counseling to do counseling, but I've ended up doing the same. On top of that, I'm a mental health advocate, and I work in the public service. So I'm also a public service designated mental health champion. And my brief is quite short, but I also, there is this tendency I normally have. Maybe I should just say it so that you can accommodate me. I'm a teacher by profession also, even though I'm no longer teaching. It's one of the many things I lost due to alcoholism. Yeah, so I lost my teaching job because of alcoholism some years back. But I'm told that once a teacher, always one. So my approach, I know there are some specific questions that you've already asked, but my approach will normally come from what we know to what you're asking about. So I might be forced to highlight a few things, and some of them have already been mentioned, but you'll have to excuse me. That's the teacher in me coming out. And because of the internet issues, I'll just do away with the video. And so here, what we're talking about here is mental health and substance abuse, especially among young athletes. So we will say that from first principles, when we're talking about mental health, what exactly are we talking about? That will be the first question. And then what are these substances that we are mentioning here or we are talking about? So that now we can move on to ask ourselves as athletes, why are they using these substances? Okay, so mental health, and according to WHO, the World Health Organization, is a state of well-being where individuals realize their abilities, can cope with life's normal stresses, work productively, and contribute to their community. That's very, very important. So these sports people, so what this is just implying here is that as a human being, it doesn't have to be that you are a sports person. Everybody in life, you go through stresses. So the measure or the level of your mental health or your state of well-being will be measured according to how resilient you are, according to how good you are at dealing with your stresses. So what are some of the stressors then do these athletes, yeah? What are some of the stressors that they go through or they experience as athletes? And how does this connect to substance abuse? So substance abuse, we can just generally call it a maladaptive use of substances leading to significant negative consequences. Now, we have a long history. I was checking when I was made aware that I'll be in the panel a few like 3 hours ago. I started checking on, actually we have a list of Kenyans who are banned, Kenyan athletes who are banned, and you can access it, and it's a long list. So some of these negative consequences in a person's life that impact their physical, emotional well-being, social relations, job performance, and all that. So then now the next question will be then, why do these athletes, why do they find themselves using substances? Because this is what is going to inform what we are going to do about it. So some of the reasons that we found that these athletes, why, or generally why people use substances is that they want to enhance their performance. That's one. And this is very, very important. And I think the other presenter mentioned about performance pressure. So these athletes find themselves under a lot of pressure from their coaches, from their parents, from their fans, and to perform. And some of them actually, their sports, the fact that they participate in sports is what has opened some doors for them, like scholarships, like contracts, like professional deals. So they find themselves, like, if you're sponsored by Nike, you know, I think there are there's a level of performance that you have to maintain for you to continue getting their millions. So because of this, then some of them are forced to start using substances so that they can enhance or maintain their performance. For some of them, it is a way of coping now with all the social pressures, all the social anxieties, the mental health issues that they have. This could be anxiety, depression, burnout, performance-related fear. I think the sports psychologists talked a lot about this, and others are using these substances as self-medication. And for others, it's because of the social influence. And you know, sports, most of the sports, yeah, it's a team thing. And you find that a lot of these people, the social connections they have or the social circles that they keep, there is a lot of pressure for them to use. And some of them succumb to this pressure. And for others, because they've been in these sports for some time, sports also, especially contact sports, involve sometimes a lot of injuries and a lot of pain. So for some of them, it's for pain management. And you find them using a lot of opioids or cannabis or prescription medications, some of them. We have some famous sports people like the late Maradona, who when he was playing in Napoli, used to play even with many injuries because they used to, you know, like sedate him, not sedate, but, you know, inject him with a lot of these painkillers. And he will play a lot of games with this pain while injured, okay? So now that's another. And what I find now to be the biggest pandemic that we have, as far as why generally the people use substances or young people use substance, is because of misinformation. That is one. The kind of information that is out here, someone alluded to, there's a lot of information on the internet, and a lot of that information is questionable. Yeah, some of that information, you know, it is promoting the culture of substance use. So there's a lot of misinformation, either from the internet or from people around you, and also the ease with which they can access these substances. And I'm happy that NACADA is doing a lot of work on that, and they have come up with some stringent measures that have been to be observed so that we can deal with the ease with which these substances can be accessed. So now, having seen all that, then now my next question, as per my brief here, is that then from my experience, yeah, as an addiction counselor, then what can we do to help these athletes? So some of the signs, because the question was on the signs, you know, the signs will come from what we are seeing. Yeah. So what we are seeing here is this. What we know, substances impact different aspects or different spheres of your life. And these different spheres of your life, now they can be the social sphere, they can be the economic sphere, it can be the occupational sphere. Like for these ones now, they are athletes, so they are sports people. So their occupation is in sports. You will see it being impacted. It can be in the physical aspect of it. It can be, and all this we see them in behavioral. So what I like to note here is that for the families and the coaches and the people around these sports people or athletes, you are only going to start noticing if you really know who these people are, so that when you start noticing the difference in their different spheres of their life, then you will know something is going wrong. For example, now if someone normally is very social, interacts with people very, very well, yeah, and you know that is how he is, or that's how he or she is, their nature is, And then you start now noticing that they are no longer associating with people. That is, they are isolating or they are withdrawing. Then that will be a sign that something could be wrong. But you know, there are other people naturally who don't like interacting with people. Maybe already, you know, they could be suffering from social anxiety, right from, you know, it can be genetical. Yeah. So such a person, if they withdraw, then it doesn't mean that, oh, they are suffering from this mental disorder. It didn't start today. So you really have to know that athlete. So what I'm saying here is get to know the people around you. The other sign that you can see is their performance generally starts dropping because substances are going to impact your performance. So their performance starts dropping. So these are sports people. So their performance or their input during the games will start going down. And once that starts going down, then you're definitely going to realize that something is definitely wrong. They are not performing as per what you know, not as per your expectations, but as per what you know, what their level is or what they can actually do. Okay, so because you are comparing, yeah, and when you see there's a drop, then it will be an indicator that something is actually gone wrong. The other here is for some of them, because most of these substances are psychoactive, that is, they'll impact or they'll affect your emotions, they'll affect definitely your feelings, and consequently, those impacts, they'll be manifested in how these people behave. And the behavior is what we are seeing, like isolation. What you will notice here is that they'll also be, you know, emotional indicators, like they'll be very irritable, restless, you know, they have these short fuse, they can get annoyed very, very fast. There's emotional dysregulation, you know, the way they are behaving compared to the cue or whatever made them become emotional, you know, it's not like it doesn't, it's not equal to the stimuli. Okay, so that could be a possible sign. And the other that you could also see here is that socially, as we've said, they have become withdrawn, they are no longer. But also another thing, because of this, there will be the shame and the guilt. You see the way they behave to you. Whenever you're talking to them, their confidence is gone, and they can't face you because definitely you know there will be something wrong. And having seen this, because you know, you will see this on how they behave, because you can't open up their heads and see what is going on in there. So then what can we do about it? Yeah. So from my experience as an addiction counselor, one, the best thing here is we should try as much as possible to psycho-educate our athletes or our sports people, yeah, so that we can stop early warning signs. This is two-way, in that first, we give the correct and the right information, yeah, to the people, to the athletes, to the coaches and families on behavioral and emotional indicators. So first, let's talk about what are these substances and what are the most common substances that these athletes are going to abuse. There'll be steroids, there'll be stimulants. What are they? Yeah, and why are they being used? Can this information, authoritative information, be gotten out there, not only to the athletes, but to the families, to the coaches, and the people around them? And then two, what are some of the signs or symptoms that these people around this sports person or this athlete can see, and they can raise the alarm that things are not going right? Two, the other thing that we can do here is let's make help accessible. Okay, so this help making it accessible is, let's use some of the role models wherever these people come from. Like we know Eldoret, they refer to it as the city of champions. We've had a lot of champions coming from there. So there are a lot of role models who've made it, and they have retired. They have gone on to retire from sports or from athletics, and they are still doing fine. Can we give these people the job of, you know, like mentoring the young people and showing them the right path, how they can excel without using the substances? Also, let's use helplines as far as this is concerned, like NACADA's provided helplines, both for mental health issues and for alcohol and drug abuse issues, and that's kudos for them. And also, let's also employ some community counselors, people who these athletes will be more comfortable to deal with. The third way is, can we please normalize support conversations? Can we go out there and train these people that it is normal to go through stress? And once you're undergoing stress, or you're going through stress and you feel overwhelmed, it is perfectly normal for you to go and seek help. Talk to people, people who you trust, okay? So in this extent, then let's also provide some basic counseling skills for the people around these athletes, people like the coaches, like the parents, especially those ones who are very close to these sports people or the athletes. Also, what we can also do here is, can we also embed the culture of care? Let's be our brothers and sisters keeper, okay? So check on them. The fact that most of these athletes, they are far away from home, and they're in training camps, they're in football academies and all that. Can we just, ritualize the culture of calling them, asking how they are doing, okay, visiting them, okay? And also, can we have some peer support systems around wherever they are? Like if they're in the high altitude training camps, can we have the peers who can help them? Can we have those role models we are talking about going there, so as to, role model for them? And culturally, we can contextualize the cultural implication or the cultural context when it comes to counseling. The other day, I think when we won against Morocco, I saw something making rounds on social media. And someone was claiming, there is this foot of a chicken. I don't know. We have this aspect of sorcery. It's not just an African thing. It's all over the world. But growing up, I was told that there are things people do, to win matches. And someone actually was saying that the reason why we won against Morocco is the goalkeeper had that chicken leg, inside his sock. So what I'm trying to say here is that can we involve our religious leaders and traditional healers, if possible, so that they can endorse care and help reframe stigma and help reframe these beliefs that we have, that for me to do better, I have to use certain dark powers. And also, on the flip side, that if I was doing so well and then all of a sudden my form dips and I'm not performing as I used to, then there is always that thing that maybe kuna mtu ameniangalia vibaya, like someone has bewitched me or something. And because now we take that belief that so-and-so has been bewitched, then the only way we can deal with it, is to go in the direction of finding an even stronger traditional healer to heal instead of us now saying these are just normal stressors, they could be affecting him. Now, can we seek counseling? So can we look at this, look at the communities in which these athletes, have been brought up? That is now what I'm saying here is individualized. When one athlete is having an issue, can we also, as we are providing counseling, can we have a look at their culture, where they're coming from? What is their belief system? What is their value system? How do they interpret whatever is going on in their lives, so that we can customize the treatment for them, so that it works for them? Because we come from different cultural backgrounds, and our belief and value systems, to some extent, they are influenced by where we come from. So we can bring that on board, so that we can try and help these athletes. All said and done, what I can say here is that substance use in sports isn't just about cheating or poor choices. It's often a signal of deeper systemic pressures, mental health needs, or misinformation. So especially for youth athletes, early education, support systems, and open conversations are essential to prevent abuse before it starts. So I will rest there, and let me thank you for this opportunity. And it's a great honor and privilege to join this great esteemed team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wycliffe Mayaka. Very, very, very informative, very insightful, mind-boggling. But still, we are in the course of trying to mitigate. We are trying to ensure that we have a concerted effort towards this discourse, which is very timely. And so I don't want to waste a lot of time because we are moving towards the tail end of our meeting or this roundtable this afternoon. I want to call our final speaker for the afternoon. That is Coach D. Williams, the founder of Get Fit Fly. I'll give you a minute or so to introduce yourself. And then once you introduce yourself, please just dive into this small perspective that I want us to go through. It's in two parts. One is from the resource constraints that you engage in as a sport from African perspective, from African programs in the grassroots clubs and maybe federations and all that stuff. And also the second part is how does framing or the issue of mental hygiene come into play, the daily practice like physical conditions and all that stuff, and how to prevent many young athletes from seeking help in maybe the first place or something like that. So as we just to wrap up this discourse, just introduce yourself, Daktari, and get us off towards the tail end of this discourse. Sorry, Coach D. Williams, I think from the United States. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Coach D. Williams. Many blessings. I am from the United States, from New York City, Brooklyn, New York, to be specific. So I definitely want to get right into it. Just a little bit about me and my background. I'm looking to share my screen. But I've been in youth development for over the last 20 years. And so I really want to talk solutions. I am of African descent, but I'm not an African citizen. So my work and my speak today will be strictly from the context and the perspective of an American. And so just to give you a little bit of background, as I said, I've been in youth development for the last 20 years. I've been an athletic coach, not with football or soccer, as we say here in the States, but primarily with basketball for the last 20 years. And so with that, in 2018, I made a transition because I recognized that a lot of my athletes were navigating not just substance misuse, but also homelessness. They were navigating food shortage. They were navigating family turmoil and different traumas. And so a lot of what they were using to respond to these challenges had negative effects. I believe here in the States, children are very aware of the adverse effects of drug misuse, substance misuse, or detrimental behaviors such as cutting and or sex at very young ages. I think the issue is that that's what they know to work. And so what we did at Get Fit Fly Right was we said we want to be able to practically embed a system that not only makes our youth as well as our youth leaders feel good about who they are, but also about who they get to be. And so often when we talk about any type of misuse, be it physical, psychological, tangible, or intangible, spiritual, or emotional, what we're talking about is relief. We're talking about looking for a way to find relief, to get relief, and to keep that relief. And so what we looked at was not only the onset of mental illness in America, which at one point was 14 years of age. Now it has dropped down to 12. I believe that's largely in part due to the over promotional fanfare of mental health awareness. I think that has further pushed the stigma because what's not being promoted is recovery, restoration, and regulation. And so what we've been able to do at Get Fit Fly Right is tap into those gaps. And so when you ask the question, how can a system like TAP, which stands for the Athlete Project, be practically embedded into these routines? There are three significant ways in which we do that. Coach training, coach and youth leader training. So that can range from coaches, teachers, assistant principals, executive and program directors, really from the top to the bottom, as well as parents, community advocates, and youth mentors. What we really want to impart on them is support as well. We often talk about our young people, but we forget that the people who are serving them are also overwhelmed, right? Attitude, we have a saying here in the States, attitude is a reflection of leadership. And so if leadership is not well maintained, if leadership is not responsive and able to recognize what positive interventions can actually support our young people and themselves, we will see that directly reflected in our young people's choices. So, coach and youth leader training is a big one for us. The second is early intervention. I'm not exactly sure what secondary and the terms that you guys use for school. But here in the States, when we say elementary school, we're talking about ages primarily 12 and under. So 12 and under is where we focus at Get Fit Fly Right. We work with high school students, so high school would be between 13 and 18. And then we also work with young adults, which is 19 to 24. But our primary focus is youth under 12. And the reason is because we want to intervene early. We want to teach them mental hygiene, as I'll speak about briefly later on. We want to teach them emotional capacity, emotional intelligence development, and most importantly, that recovery is always possible, right? If you stub your toe on a doorknob or a bedpost or something in your room, if you give it 5 minutes, you'll be okay. And so we really want to make it that simple for our young people. I think so often in a lot of these spaces, what we do is we over complex what healing can look like because the issues are so grave. What we do is we also lose a sense of hope in our reporting. So Get Fit Fly Right has been very, very intentional about the language that we use, as well as the perception of what our interventions are doing and who they are for. And so we don't other our subjects. We don't other or create certain types of buckets for the work that we do. We work with everybody. And what I mean by that is we work with all youth. So we've had the pleasure of being featured as a junior MBA Coach of the Year finalist. And in that space, it was very sport heavy. But then in the same year, we were able to work with a platform called Head in the Game. Head in the Game now is online, where our Tap Talks Mental Hygiene Basic course is now for free until the end of the year. And in that space, we're speaking with administrators, we're speaking with teachers, we're speaking with parents and youth mentors. And the reason we want to come at it from every angle is because when we talk holistic approaches, we have to approach the human holistically. And if we are constantly putting people in buckets, athlete, student, coaches, then we remove them and we widen that gap of just having a human talk, if you will. So our early intervention looks like we want to make sure that we're engaging, we're equipping our youth leaders, whoever they may be, and we're educating the community. So that can be parents, that can be the local guy on the corner, that can be local businesses with this type of mental hygiene perspective shift. And then lastly, it's community engagement. And so a lot of messages that were echoed today spoke very profoundly about the importance and significance of everyone that is around the child having an influence on them. And so if everyone around the child is being met with the same information, they're being met with the same type of love, care, and compassion, now we're able to create a culture of wellness. And so, with that being said, that is how we frame mental hygiene. So, mental hygiene, very simply, is a daily practice to clean your mind. The way that we do that at Get Fit Fly Right is we teach the 533 breathing meditation. We also teach certain steps. So, there are 4 steps to practice mental hygiene: stillness, affirmation, breath, and commitment. These things involve no price. They do, however, involve time. And what we wanted to do at Get Fit Fly Right in the US, what's really big, a big barrier for a lot of our undervalued communities is access and affordability. So we wanted to create a curriculum that didn't need much access to internet or didn't need much access to a certain type of person or a certain price tag. And we were able to create this curriculum in the breadth and the need of the children that we were serving. And so, what that looks like when we talk about a daily practice and we talk about what that daily practice can be in terms of personal development and how it simultaneously helps us dismantle deep rooted stigma that prevents many of our young people from seeking help. We want to increase help seeking. We want young people to say, yo, I don't feel good today. Can you help me? As opposed to looking for other supports that won't have such as we all know the best effects in the long run. So the first way that we do that is we believe that language dictates perception. And so hygiene simply means to clean. We've taken mental health out of our language. And the reason being is because it comes with so much depending on where it's coming from. We can't change what the word mental health means, but we can certainly come at mental health with a different angle. Health is the state of, but hygiene is something that we get to practice and do every day. We do it with physical hygiene. Now we can do it with mental and emotional hygiene. So that language shift really helps our young people have a different perception. When I go into classes, I often ask our young people as well as our adults, hey, did you brush your teeth this morning? And people start to laugh because they're like, of course I did. And the first question I follow up with is, did you do that for your brain? Now there's a shift in the way that we look at how we get to approach our mental well being. The second way that we really look to not just dismantle deep rooted stigma, that's actually what we don't want to do. What we want to do is we want to plant new seeds, right? And the way that we do that is by cultivating autonomy and independent learning to build emotional capacity. That was also echoed today that a lot of our young people here in the States and abroad in Africa, they do not have the emotional capacity. They are underdeveloped. So, with that early intervention, with that community engagement, with the language shift, now we're able to build emotional capacity because there's a new story. Very simply, there's a new story around what emotions can be for you. And so we want to continue to build that independent learning. And the newest way that we've been able to do that is with our coloring and activity book. So our flagship product, Get Fit Fly Right, very proud and excited to announce this. We have dropped a mindfulness training coloring book where we give out this book. Well, we don't give it out, but it is it is for purchase, where we go and we train our teachers, we train our coaches, we train our youth leaders on the mental hygiene system, those 4 steps that I mentioned earlier, and we equip the students with this book. And the goal is that the kids go to this book when they need it. They start to develop that internal conversation around their emotions so they can get the voices of everyone else out of their head. They can get the voices of their parents, their coaches, and social media out of their head and develop their own internal and inner resources. Once we're able to do that, now we're not looking for external respondents to help us get relief. I can simply say, hey, this is hard. What do I want to do about it? And once we're able to flip that switch and start asking ourselves these questions, now we have a better chance because the capacity to navigate these challenges is a lot greater. And the way that we do that, finally, with sustainable, actionable, as well as flexible, which I think is the most important, emotional intelligence development interventions. So, quite simply, as I said earlier, we're not looking to dismantle stigma. What we're looking to do is build confidence and competence to self regulate. Again, most of our young people here in the States, in New York City, and abroad, what I've noticed in the conversation that I heard is they're just looking for relief, be it to perform better, be it to relieve pressure, be it to just get through the day. How about we create and cultivate products, materials, a language that allows them to build that confidence and competence within themselves? Right? And so now they don't live and die by the sport. They don't live and die by the outcome. What they're living and dying by is every day knowing who it is that they are outside of these things. Now, I as well am an athlete. I actually had my first knee surgery at 17 years old. So I was not able to finish out my high school career. And then I had 2 more surgeries on my right knee at 25 and 26. And so with that, I went through a lot of depression before 30 years old. In the midst of that, I also navigated homelessness after both my parents had passed away by the time I was 22. And so for me, I know very firsthand the ills of the world, as well as feeling not just pressure from family, but just pressure to survive. And so with that, I created the 533 breathing meditation, which is what the Athlete Project is founded on, for myself, building the capacity. And so my late mother, God rest her soul, I always keep her name alive with 2 words. And she would say, just breathe. Breath is a very powerful tool, as we all know. And so here in the States, we have studies that have proven meditation for our young people has been so much more beneficial than punitive measures like detention, like suspension. Because what our young people get an opportunity to do is think. When we are put in a space where we can stop, we can get stillness, we can see ourselves, and we can think, we're now not only building capacity, but we're building confidence. And most importantly, we're building character. What Get Fit Fly Right and the concept of mental hygiene as a framework is really aiming to do, not only with our product and our tools and our coursework, but is give our young people, and I'll end here, the support to do 3 things. 1, we want them to be able to identify what it is that they are feeling. Secondly, we want them to recognize, okay, what am I feeling and what are my options? And then thirdly, now once they recognize their options, now they can respond in ways that are positive. And what that looks like is, hey, do I want to go outside and smoke, or do I want to go take a breath? Do I want to go ask someone for help, or do I want to keep this bottled in? We want our young people asking these questions. And the reason we want them asking these questions is because we want them to come up with an answer, right? And again, that's how we build those inner resources. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen. I just want to address the last 2 questions
Sorry,
that I
are
see
you
here in the
breaking?
chat. Yeah, there was one question in the chat that I did want to address. It was, what is the
Sorry?
best way for someone to connect with you further? So I did leave my information in the chat. I'll put it in there again, but Coach D Williams at Get Fit Fly Right, Get Fit Fly Right. You can also preview our new book at justbreathe.getfitflyright.com. So once again, Collins and the people here in the room today, thank you so much for your time, your attention, and for the work that you do.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach D. Williams. We've gotten a new perspective from the US and how you deal with the related matters of drug substance abuse, and especially among the young athletes. So we are just about 5 minutes shy of our time. I'm seeing quite a handful of questions from our chat box. May I request Dr. Orlando to just respond to one, then also Bwana Wycliffe Mayaka to respond to one, then we have closing remarks. So Daktari, if you can be able to hear me, there was a question about non-traditional systems that help in support. Non-traditional systems that help in support that could be used to strengthen the current systems that are used to support the athletes. Non-traditional systems that can be used to enhance and strengthen the support of the current athletes or young people. So just respond to that and tie that with something about androgens. There was just a person asked about what are these androgens, which sounds to be a bit vague to parents. They may not be able to understand what they are. So just take a minute, just highlight that. Then I'll give another minute for Wycliffe Mayaka to take us through how do you approach or help athletes whose mental health cases or challenges are linked to socioeconomic factors or stress. How do you help such kind of people? Because I know you are in a system like that. So please, doctor, take 1 minute, then I'll give another 1 minute for Wycliffe to highlight that. Then we'll take closing remarks. Over to you, Daktari.
Thank you so much. Now, maybe I start with the question on the androgens. So these androgens are substances taken to increase the serum in the testosterone. So they sort of increase the male strength, so to put it. And most of the time it is prescribed, and the athletes might actually not even know that they're using it. So it is not something that you just buy off the street. It means it was actually targeted. More of that, I believe now maybe the particular physicians are able to tell them, but they're usually found during the blood testing. On the non-traditional ways of support, I would just be able to mention maybe some possible ways of support. As Bwana Mayaka mentioned, NACADA has a helpline, 1192, that is free of charge, toll-free, operates 24 hours. So anyone who might need this kind of support can be able to call in at any time. In terms of other support, we also have community-based rehabilitation programs. So these are programs that are being set across the country that are also free of charge, that somebody can be able to walk in and get support. The recommendation would be to have a support group for athletes. Maybe that would be the non-traditional way, to have a support group for the athletes so that, as Coach D said, there are experiences that athletes have that the rest of us might not be able to experience. So if there's a support group, particularly for athletes, then they'll be more open to each other because chances are they're experiencing the same problems, the same challenges. And I believe this would work very well in our settings. We already have support groups for Alcoholic Anonymous and also for Narcotic Anonymous. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Daktari. Very good highlights. So, Dr. Mayaka, just give us a highlight of how do you approach or how do you help athletes whose mental challenges or mental problems are linked or they are exacerbated by socioeconomic factors. So how do you help such kind of people? Just a minute or so, then we'll start taking closing remarks. Over to you.
Well, basically, as a counselor, or what I'll say is that our help is through talk therapy, the psychotherapy, yeah. And the psychotherapy, first and foremost here, is we'll have to try and get that specific person to a counselor, okay? And this could be done. Maybe if they identify that they're having issues and they're not in denial, they can bring themselves for counseling, or the people around them, because a lot of times it's the people around you who notice that you're not okay. Then they can help, encourage them to seek help. And once they get to for counseling, what normally happens here is that an assessment is done. That's the first step. So the assessment here, basically what we are saying here is, because they have been brought for counseling, it means there is a problem. So then now we ask ourselves, what is the extent of the problem and what exactly are the problems? When we talk about socioeconomic, they could mean a lot of things. Yeah? So first is to identify their specific problems or their specific stressors. What is this that is causing the distress? And most of the time, what should be told here is a lot of people, they use substances because of the stressors in their life that they cannot deal with. So once we identify what the stressors in their lives are, then that is what is going to determine how we are going to help. There are many approaches which can be used to help, depending on what exactly we want to do. But first and foremost is to help them. One, the most important thing here is that help identify their stressors, as I've said. Yeah? And then after that, now what will happen here is, for a lot of people, if they're using substances, of course, we will do treatment for the substances. We'll start with the stabilization phase, that's the detox. And then after that, we'll have a look at the underlying issues. And these underlying issues, most of the time, it's all about psychoeducation, one, and two, life skills training. So in life skills training, yeah, the life skills we are talking about here is, these are just practical psychosocial abilities that help individuals adapt, solve problems, and navigate the demands of daily life. So if their problem was they don't know how to use their finances, like we have a lot of them, they made a lot of money and they ended up misusing them. So maybe we could teach them a life skill like literacy, financial literacy, okay? If their issue is marital, yeah, we've had a lot of them divorcing, others have even been killed. Yeah, if it's a family issue, then we could have a family therapist coming in to help them see if those the relationship can be, like, saved. If it can't be saved, okay, they'll be advised by the family therapist. So the main thing here is, once we deal with, if they were using the substances, we treat the substances alongside the psychosocial issues that they have, and these will be determined by their assessment. So a good assessment is done, the problems are identified, and then different approaches are used to help them navigate the issues that they're dealing with. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Mayaka. We are out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, you may excuse me for this. So can we take each 30 seconds parting shot? May I start with Linyonyi Nasike? Just give us your parting shot. 30 seconds, sorry. Then we close. Let's start with Linyonyi. Linyonyi Nasike, just give us your parting shot, please.
Thank you, Kavins, and thank you to everyone who's spoken, and thank you to everyone who's attended. I think it's very, I've gained a lot of information just hearing what you guys are doing. It's really beautiful that we are all in this together, and I'm looking forward to the connections that we make and the work that we do together. Thank you.
We are losing you, Linyonyi?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now you're better. Yes, please. Please just summarize.
I was just saying thank you to everyone. I've gained a lot of insight and information from the speakers. I'm glad to see that there are very many people who are passionate about the youth and sports, and I'm excited for what this will bring and what we're going to do together. And thank you, Youth Initiative Development Program. This is an amazing thing you're doing.
Okay, most welcome. Thank you very much, Linyonyi Nasike. Please, Coach D. William, please just give us 30 seconds, your closing remarks or parting shot. Just unmute. Coach D. Williams, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm so sorry. So yeah, once again, just wanting to say thank you to everyone. I dropped my information in the chat. I'm really excited to learn more about this community and what their needs are, as well as bring some of my interventions and just different ways of thinking to the table.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was brief and to the point. Wycliffe Mayaka, your parting shot, please.
Yeah, for me, what I'll say is I like to thank the YIDP for the good work you're doing. My parting shot here is this, that as long as you're alive, there'll always be stressors, especially to the youth, yeah? And these stressors, I like to quote the Bible that God will never give you a baggage that you can't carry. So it's all about you learning on how to carry the baggage that you have. And you don't have to resort to using substances, yeah, for you to maybe deal with the normal daily stresses of life. And let us inculcate the culture of seeking help whenever we feel that we are overwhelmed. There's something we normally say that if you don't start using, you will never get addicted. You will never develop a substance use disorder. So in this line then, as people, let's develop the culture of, looking out for one another. Yeah, you don't have to wait for someone to come to you. If you clearly see that they're not functioning as per what you're used to, please also reach out. Let's be each other's brother's keeper. Let's be each other's sister's keeper. And that way we will keep ourselves and we will maintain a good mental health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Mayaka. Let's be each other's brothers keeper and sisters keeper. Thank you very much. Parting shot, Daktari. Dr. Yvonne, your parting shot.
Thank you so much. Maybe just to tell the public there is help. Check the NACADA website, www.nacada.go.ke. The list of accredited rehabilitation programs, both inpatient and outpatient, are there. Don't take your people to quacks. Professional treatment is there. If you're in the addiction field and you'd like to get trained in evidence-based interventions, check the same website. If you want anonymity, call 1192. We are here to serve and to help each other. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Their minutes or hours allocated to us were very brief. I know we are just starting to ignite fire so that we are able to engage in this discourse in our families, in our society, in the country, in the region, in the continent and in the globe at large. So ladies and gentlemen, 1.5 hours may not be enough to exhaust the topical areas we ought to have engaged in, but it's just meant to give us a sneak peek into whatever we are going to discuss going forward. Without wasting a lot of time, we are way out of time. I'll give our closing remarks to the founder and the CEO, Collins Alan Dundo, to give us his closing remarks and also invite us to the coming summit in November. That is going to be November 19th to November 21st here in Nairobi, Kenya, so that we are able to all congregate there and have these robust discussions together in a sitting kind of platform where we are able to get enough time to engage in this kind of discourse. Otherwise, I want to thank all of us. Sorry if I was not able to take your question, but we have the platform where in our chat box where we have the contacts for our speakers, we have the contact for the YIDP website and the contact person, the partnership. We can still engage in this discourse going forward, but we may not be able to exhaust it today in a sitting of 1.5 hours. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. May I hand you over once again to Collins Alan Dundo to give us his closing remark and sign us out. May God bless all of us.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much, the speakers, panelists. And I would also like to thank our partners and the delegates who at time, close to 1 hour, 30 minutes, sharing insights and also trying to figure out how we can help our society and our youth to live a healthy life. So through the points that have been shared with various panelists and the questions that have been asked, it is so clear that we seriously need to come together and be able to support our young people. So we build up a foundation that will help our young people thrive, that is in athlete and also outside athlete. So that's why YIDP is coming in by having these roundtable discussions and also sharing notes with different stakeholders so that we can work together, build capacity for young people and capacity for coaches so that they can be able to detect and support young people within our community. So because of time, I'll just go straight to our upcoming summit. Like I said, this webinar virtual roundtable is a precursor for the summit, which is coming in November 19th to 21st. And we have different topical areas. If you go to our website and you check on the concept, and also the schedule for the day, you'll be able to see the areas that we will be delving in. So we will look at mental health and physical health. And day one is broken down into mental health and also drugs and substance abuse. So prevention. So we have interesting areas, topics that we urge you to have a look at it. And also, if you are interested to maybe support one session or to support day one, we will be more than glad to work with you because YIDP is for youth by youth. And we believe and we embrace this SDG number 17, that is partnership. We cannot do it alone. We all need to come together to make it to realization. So our contact is there. Okay. All right. So our contact is there right below. Sorry. Okay. So you can just take a photo of that. Then you'll be able to reach out to Mr. Kevin Skaumba, who is the Director of Communications and also Projects, so that you reach out and we have a discussion on how you can support and how we can work together in this. And also maybe if you have services that you want to exhibit, then you can reach out as well so that we work together in this. So with those few remarks, I would like to thank our partners again who have made this event a success, and also looking forward to partnering with you and also to our upcoming roundtable, of which we'll have one that we will share the dates and the details before the summit. So thank you and may God bless you. So at this particular time, you may live at your own pleasure. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, thank you and have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Colin, so much. This was great. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.